Hey, welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Scott, and there's Dave above me. And today is 2004's Christmas with the Kranks. This is an actual request from a D&D friend of mine, Chris. Here it is. We finally got to it. Took us a year, but here you go, man. Christmas with the Kranks, directed by Christopher Columbus and adapted from a John Grisham story. When you told me that, I was like, no way. I'm a huge Grisham fan, and it was like, what? Yeah.
When I saw that name come up on screen, I was like, what? I said, is that the same John Grisham?
Yes.
Pull him up right away. I grabbed my phone. Yep, that's the same guy.
Well, the man can write, clearly.
Yeah. Christopher Columbus also wrote this.
Yeah, they did the screenplay.
He wrote it too. Directed by somebody named Joe Roth. That name sounds familiar. We've probably seen something.
It does. This is a cute movie. I'm gonna be honest. When I saw the trailers of it, it looked funny. I mean, you got the cast. You've got Dan Aykroyd. You've got Tim Allen, who I find Tim Allen funny in any situation. I could go to a funeral with Tim Allen and probably get thrown out. I don't know what it is about the man. He's freaking funny. And Jamie Lee Curtis has got great acting chops. She can do comedy. She can do drama. And here she is. She plays this role really freaking well.
Goodness.
Yeah. So this is a Christmas story about a couple whose daughter is finally leaving the nest. And she's joined the Peace Corps and she's going off to South America. And well, mom and dad are all upset. But Tim Allen's character comes up with the idea, let's take the money that we would have spent on Christmas and take a cruise. And this is the whole setup of the movie. They are skipping Christmas, which is the name of Grisham's book, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
With that starts out as a funny premise, and I love it. And it all works out in the end. The story that's very funny. There are parts of this that had me laughing out loud, like practically crying, laughing out loud. And it's a problem that I have with this story is the storytelling. There's no reason, there's no catalyst for anybody to be mad at these people. There really isn't. The whole point is everybody in the neighborhood gets mad at them because they're leaving and they're not decorating their house.
I wish to speak on that when we get there.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but what I think, and this movie to me, and I'm going to jump around, folks, I apologize, but this particular movie and this particular interaction you're talking about, I'm watching this movie. I'm seeing Dan Aykroyd's character and his son. I was like, oh my God, imagine the worst HOA president you could ever imagine. And that's Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. And you despise him. You hate him. I'm going to tell you something. When I got to the end of the movie, I had love for the man and everything else. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. You're right. There's no reason for him to be mad at the Kranks. They weren't mad. They wanted to celebrate. They knew. Yeah. And there's something that happens with this. I talked that their daughter was going away.
Right.
And Dan Aykroyd's character huddles the people around and he's like, what's her name? Claire. Yeah, Claire's coming home, and the whole neighborhood is acting as if Claire is their daughter. Yeah. And that is a message. That is a telling of the community. And this whole community bands together to bring the Christmas spirit back to the Kranks, which, I'm with you. I don't give a shit if you go on a damn cruise, but you had to tell the story.
They handled it initially out of the box wrong. And I think there would have been a better way to write it. I don't know. But it seems like in another rewrite or two, they could have fixed and that's a minor thing with me, folks. It's a minor thing. Yeah. It was the provocativeness of it, the reasoning for all of the problems, all could have been avoided. All Crank had to say, and this is why it bothers me, is all he had to do is tell everybody in his office, "Hey, I'm going on a cruise. Me and the wife are going on a cruise. I'm not going to have the party this year."
Yeah.
99% of people would have been that would have been it. Oh, okay. We're going to be sad, but have fun. He writes a 3-paragraph note, walks
because he's an
around the
asshole,
office, hands everybody a personal note, and it comes across as kind of cranky, And I'm like sitting there thinking, who would do that? You just tell everybody, "Hey, I'm going on a cruise." And you only tell the people that you're going on a cruise that might have been coming to your house for the
well, and that's one of the
party.
things you talk
You know?
you talk about the party, and this is the setup of um, Luther Crank's
Yeah.
caricature of Scrooge or Grinch. Usually, actually Grinch, because there's a couple things in this movie.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is reading the Grinch to the kids. Also, the first person I thought of when I saw the girl at the tanning booth was Cindy Lou Who.
Because she's got the hair. My God.
And I think it was purposeful.
I completely missed that, dude.
I think it was purposeful. I
really
really do.
It had to be. It had to be.
Yeah.
That's
because the way she looked with that that bright color, fake tan, and the hair, and it's like, oh my God. And it's like, because the theme is he is the Grinch, and he has to go through a time for something to happen to him and make his heart grow, and it does happen. It's neat. I dig this movie.
I do dig the movie, but like I said, it's a minor problem, and I know it seems silly, but there was a different way to get him, and probably they could have found it in a rewrite that would have made more sense for him to be grumpy. Or they needed to have them just never celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, because it was such a
there's just something. It was a minor thing, but it's minor enough for me to feel it and see it, and not know how to fix it.
I'll talk on that, because I agree. I agree, because it was, damn, you're an asshole. Why don't you just give the scouts some money and say, hey, donate the tree to somebody who needs one, and here cops, I'll buy your calendar like I do every year. But he turned into, for some reason, they didn't explain why he was cancel Christmas motherfucker. It's like,
he started taking everything personally.
He did.
They never showed the build. I know they were trying to, but like I said, I think in another rewrite they could have fixed or softened all the edges to where you've seen why. Like, if it would have been one thing after another, and he finally, like, let's say the cops came in and he had 7 other people asking him for money up to that point, and him going, no more money. I'm not spending anymore. That would have worked, but everything was spread out too much for me. I think they needed maybe an editing. I don't know. But again,
that's a fair point.
Minor. It's a minor.
It doesn't change anything, but if you were going to fix it.
One of those little things that kind of bugged me, that I was like, okay. But then Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting at home by herself. Luther is at work, and she calls Luther, and she's in a panic. He's like, what's wrong? Everybody in the neighborhood is crying for Frosty. They have like this 10-foot tall snowman.
Oh my God.
Evidently put out every year. It's like the big thing in the neighborhood. Everybody loves the Frosty. Everybody just wants Luther to put it up, and he won't put it up.
No,
and his wife even looks at him and goes, just let him have it. Just let him put it out. No, it's the principle of the thing. I'm not going to let him have it.
He could have decorated. That was the thing, dude. I could have seen him. They could have still decorated. They could have still set up. They could have still participated and still went on their cruise. There was nothing to trigger that. And here's the thing. I'm with you.
Yeah. It's little things that kind of got to me. But the funny thing is,
I'm with you.
She's at home alone, and they're out in front of the house, and they're made to look like the village, people coming
like
to get
pitchforks
Frankenstein. The only thing they were missing were the torches and the pitchforks. So you got them saying, "Give us Frosty, come on." What's her name? What was her name? Nora. Give us Frosty, come on. And she's like, "They want Frosty," and Luther's like, "No, you're not giving him Frosty. Get in the car and get out of there." And it's a very over the top, such a stupid moment. But I was crying, laughing, because she's in a total panic, and I'm like, she knows everybody in this neighborhood. Nobody. All she had to do is go, yeah, come on in, Vic, or what's the guy's name? Yeah, Vic. That was Dan Aykroyd's character. Come on in, go get him. I wouldn't even have bothered calling my husband if I were her. I would just I got like a thing in my ear, sorry. I would have been like, no, just come and get it. And then when my husband got home, I would have been like, yeah, they wanted Frosty, so I let him have it. What's he going to do at that point?
Well, that's just it. Here, everything in this movie is exaggerated.
Oh yeah.
The Kranks Luther Crank's hatred of Christmas is exaggerated.
And it became like that. It was just there.
Yeah. Everything, though, everything that happens in this movie is pushed. Things in the background. I loved watching the person get electrocuted while hanging up their lights and the other guy or woman just laughing their ass off as they fell in the bushes. That was just in the background.
I think that was like a brother and sister. That was
it was so.
That was at Dan Aykroyd's, Vic Frohmeyer's house. Those were his kids. Those were two of his kids.
It's so funny. They were laughing.
Oh. But what was great, what I loved, and there's a scene. And again, real quick, I just want to point this out. It was, again, this is a little thing that just kind of bugged me. When he tells her, hey, let's go on a cruise, initially she's all mad. She's mad that he wants to go on a cruise. He's like, what? Like, instead of just looking at her and going, honey, I love you so much. You deserve a cruise. I deserve a cruise.
He handled that whole thing wrong. This should be a
romantic thing for us. Our daughter's gone. Let's go on a cruise. And I'll tell you right now, if I'd have gone through all that damn trouble, and my daughter called me 12 hours before she showed up at my front door, and I was getting ready to pack and go, I'd have been like, honey, you can come, but there's no party. They never told the truth. It's like, what is wrong with you people?
I know. Well, that was just it.
And your mother and I are going on a cruise, so come on in if you want.
You had to have the setup. You had to have the disaster, the daughter calling at the last minute. Now the Cranks are set with a cruise to go on, and their daughter is expecting everything because it's very obvious that they love their daughter, and Mama is going to do whatever she can, especially to get that damn canned ham for her.
The canned ham.
Which I thought was wonderful that Marty, the umbrella salesman, shows up with a ham.
With the exact canned ham. Well, I know Claire likes this.
That was the moment that I thought there was something interesting about Marty. And Dave and I won't talk much more about that character, but pay close attention to him.
He's a fun character. He's a fun character. And he's underrated. He's like underrated through the whole thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of hidden stuff in this movie. A lot of symbology. Or different ways to look at things. There's a spot when Crank is when his heart starts to grow.
Yeah.
And you see it. I think he's standing on the street and he's looking at the neighbor's house.
In the middle of the street.
In the middle of the street. Yeah, he's looking out both houses. And you're looking in a picture window, and it's almost like a postcard.
Oh my God, that's exactly what I said to Kat last night. Yeah. I was like, or the other night, I was like, look at that. That's a beautiful shot. I said, that's like a Hallmark.
It was,
card.
Yes. That was purposeful, for sure.
Absolutely beautiful.
That was purposeful. I thought it was interesting that she was going to have this big feast, and all she had was some fish. So take that how you will. Yeah. And that's, the whole community comes together. And Luther still is angry, and I don't understand that. I'm with you. I don't understand why he's still angry.
Yeah, I don't. Other than he doesn't get to go on his cruise, and his wife does yell at him. But again, he handled it wrong. He should have looked at her whenever after the toast, the initial toast. He goes, "Yeah, ditto," kind of thing, and she's mad at him about that. And when she came to bitch at him, he should have just looked her in the eyes and said, "I wasn't doing this for me. I was doing this for you, for us."
Yeah, well, that's because he handled it wrong to begin with.
To have some time together alone. And then have him just kind of look at the crowd and be like, alone,
Yeah, but
he handled it wrong. He handled it wrong. And
he was a selfish character.
Handling it wrong.
Yeah, and this is what makes this setup. In order for this whole thing to work, he's got to have this level of hatred, because we've got to see him grow. And I'm like with Dave, I don't really see the impetus that made it, or with the catalyst that made him go into that mode, that dark, that far. There was no need for it. But that sells the story.
Other than how did he get to that point? If you just accept it and say, okay, he is this now, then
you're fine.
It's fine. Yeah. It's a great movie. There are a couple of really, really good sound moments in here and edits. When she's in the car with him, they've just dropped the daughter off at the at the airport. They're going home, and she says, "Oh, you have to stop. We have to get some chocolate, some kind of white chocolate or other, and something else. I forgot what else he's going in for." And they're in the car, and it's raining. I mean, it's not just raining a little bit.
It's pouring.
Torrential freaking downpour. He doesn't have his umbrella. He looks at it. He's like, "No, it's raining. I'll just come back." He says, "No, I need it." And I'm sitting here thinking, wow. Wow, for the old lady to look at him and say, you're going to go out there and get this across the street and, water up to your ankles. And my wife would never, this is where my disconnect is. My wife in a torrential downpour would have looked at me and went, we can come back and get it. I'll come back later, or you can come back, no big deal. So I can't comprehend anybody looking at their spouse and saying, "No, you're going out in this torrential downpour without a raincoat,
let's talk about this, because this is an interesting turn in the movie for me. Because when I started watching this, I'm watching their interaction, Jamie Lee Curtis and Tim Allen, and this is the picture that was painted for me. I'm seeing a couple that is not on the same page whatsoever. No. I'm seeing a couple that's probably fighting, that their marriage has got some serious problems. But that's not the case at all. But that's the way it's played. Yeah. And because when he comes home with the cruise, she thinks it's sexy time, and it's so funny. It's so funny. She's taking her. Like, they're getting her. But so that. It was at that point. Yeah, it was at that point that I realized, no, there's nothing wrong with their marriage. But why was she talking to him like that and sending him out in the damn rain?
Yes, exactly. I was expecting the same kind of thing. But it's funny because there's a scene where he's saying, "No, I'm not going to go." And this is what I talk about the sound design in the edit. There's a clap of thunder and lightning, and she turns to look at him, and she's got that wife. And it all happens at once. So it's the thunder, it's the lightning, and it's her looking at him, and it's a nice shot of Jamie Lee Curtis being grumpy. And I was like, "Holy shit! I would have got out of that car to go get that chocolate too." And I'm like, "Yep, I gotta go. I want to get the chocolate for you, honey. Don't worry about it." The guy asks him as he's walking across the street, "Do you want an umbrella?" That's Marty. He's like, "Hey, you want an umbrella?" And
I really think you need the umbrella.
Was he giving them away, or was he selling them?
He was selling them.
Yeah, okay, so he was selling them. And he's already mad. He's like, "No, I don't want an umbrella." He goes in to the butcher shop or whatever store. He comes
she tells him, she comes out with he comes out once and says there's no chocolate. And she's like, "Well, did you talk to Rex the butcher?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Why didn't I think to talk to the butcher for some chocolate?"
Why would I talk to the butcher about chocolate? And then she tells him to get back in there.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Which is funny. So to me, the scene itself is very funny. It's put together really well. But my disconnect is where my old lady would have never asked me to do that. Well, yeah. She might have asked me if it was sprinkling. You just been like, "Really? Come on, it's sprinkling. Could you just run in there?"
And that's why it fed in my thought that there was something wrong. Yeah. There was something, and maybe they thought to go that way and just toned it back or something. I don't know.
And not knowing what the book is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's funny is this is a perfect example of how everything in this movie is exaggerated for comedy.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of rain, the amount of stuff that happens to him, and every event is this way. Every event. They go to get these tans for the cruise, and this is probably my favorite scene in the damn movie. Some idiot bumbles around back while Jamie Lee Curtis is in the tanning bed, and she jumps up because she's scared and cuts her head, and she runs out front. They're in a mall, folks. Yeah. They're in a shopping mall. The front counter is right there by the mall. She's got she's got a string bikini on at the front, and she turns around, and there's her local pastor and the rest of the neighborhood all just staring.
Breasts.
Yeah, the preacher was just a little bit pervy. I'm just saying.
The preacher was just staring at those tits way too long.
Way too much. But see, another example of just push that. Just push the look.
Because she's looking at him like, "Are you looking at my?" And then she covers up. Oh God, My favorite part, and oh yeah, she's dressed like that. And then Tim Allen must have heard her because he comes running out and he's wearing a boulder holder kind of
Yeah.
bathing suit. And I'm like, I am not that brave. Like if if I was doing a movie, I guess I would have to really, really get myself into that mindset to walk out there like that. I don't care. You can call it money. It's a mindset for me. I'd have to get into that mindset.
And a lot of zeros make you do a lot of things. I'm
but
just
my
saying.
God, she's standing there with her cleavage showing, and Jamie Lee Curtis is not flat chested at all.
No.
And the thing that I love about her, I mean, A, she's Jamie Lee Curtis, but B, is she's been interviewed about body form. And they're like, well, aren't you afraid of this? Aren't you afraid of that? She doesn't allow people to airbrush her on magazine covers or in photo shoots.
I forgot about that. That's right.
Basically, I am what I am. I'm getting older. I'm not a sex symbol. I was never really a sex symbol. I never was comfortable with that. But she 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 stood there in the bikini, and I was like, she still has a really nice figure. And I'm like, that's really brave, because how many women in Hollywood at that age would have done that and not tried to say, oh, sex me up a little bit, or can you airbrush it? Can you, at that time, I think CGI was still around or was there. Can you fix that in post? No, she's just like, if you want me to wear this bikini, I'm going to wear this bikini.
And good for her.
It.
Good for her.
It is what it is. So for her, that's freaking props.
There was one
Tim
other.
Allen, I'm sorry, you talk.
No, go ahead, man.
Tim Allen to walk out in that boulder holder. I was just like, oh my God. And everybody's just standing there staring at the crane.
And he doesn't even phase. He don't care. And that's what's great. He's just like,
he doesn't give a shit.
Screw you guys. I'm going on my cruise. Check it out.
That was funny.
But there was another scene that had me in tears, and it's when they're eating after he had the Botox, and he's trying to eat the fruit salad, and the pieces.
Second favorite scene in the movie. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just constantly, he had Botox, so his face is frozen, and every time he puts some fruit in his mouth, it just falls out, and it happens so many damn times, and I'm laughing just as hard every single piece of fruit that falls out.
So much Botox. His eyes, his eyebrows are like
they're on his forehead, on top of his head.
And she's like, "Can you blink?" He's like, "No." It'll go away. And then he's trying to chew the food, and he's got so much Botox he can't chew the food. He did something to his teeth, the whitening to his teeth or something, because she's just looking at him. His teeth are like, they're not just cleaned; they're like white, like back paper. They're white, and he's yellow and orange, and the teeth are white. He's trying to drink. He's trying to drink the water. It's just falling out.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh my God. I'm sorry that I'm laughing so hard. You can't understand me. But that scene alone, even though we've destroyed it and told you everything about it, it is absolutely worth watching. It's
absolutely hilarious.
You'll cry laughing.
I was in tears for laughing, and this movie brought a tear to my eye at some of its moments. It had some good moments.
And they were done really well because they didn't like go from super laugh to, oh, now you have to have a tearjerker moment. It just kind of went into
just happened.
That's where the writing was really good in this. For the scenes where they really wanted to tug on your heartstrings, they went into it nice and smooth.
It was well done. That was when, and folks, we're talking about his Luther Kranks' turn, his heart softening, and it's a moment that you're going to see in like A Christmas Story, The Grinch, all these or Christmas Carol,
Columbus movies for Christmas. That's what he did.
All Christmas movies. This is a nice story here, and it's done with a lot of comedy, and it's just really. I wasn't prepared to like this movie as much as I did.
No, neither was I.
I like I
really
said,
didn't think it was going to be funny.
I didn't either, even though I like Tim Allen. I can't see him without one of my favorite movies with him, and I can't think of the name of it. He stars with Kirstie Alley, and they're hiding in some Amish community from the feds or something.
I forgot about that movie. He's like
And we will have to do that this year because that's one of my. We'll definitely work that one. Yeah, I forget what it was, but another good one. So this one, I saw the trailer. It's like, yeah, it looks funny. It looks like every early 2000 comedy. And what I wasn't prepared for, I thought it was just going to be a comedy. I was not prepared for it to hit at the level that it did with the messaging of Christmas. So,
and you know what? It's Chris Columbus that did the Collie McCulkin movie, isn't it?
I think so.
Chris Columbus?
Maybe.
If so,
I don't know.
Makes a lot of
or was
sense.
It John Hughes?
Yeah, well, I know John Hughes did it. I just don't know how. I thought Chris Columbus was involved in it. Maybe not. But it has a moment. It does like that. It has a moment where the character turns and you're like, oh my God, you put your hand.
You feel it with him.
Oh,
you feel it with him.
Yeah. I got to talk about Dan Aykroyd's character.
Oh my God, yes. Let's do that.
I don't know if they're in an HOA or if they're just
not. They're not.
But that, like you said, that's what kind of character he plays, is like the head of the HOA. But he's an annoying guy. But I don't think he does it purposely. I don't think he's trying to push. He's trying to keep a neighborhood as a nice.
Well, that's what we don't see, because it's done at the beginning. You're made to believe he's annoying, but by the end of the movie, you understand him, and that's what's nice.
Totally get his character, and I like that the daughter's coming back. I do like that they're in a panic. I absolutely loved that Dan Aykroyd, like the Kranks by this point, they haven't barely got any kind of lights up. Luther's fallen off the roof by this point. He's almost, I don't want to ruin all that, but it's just very funny how that happens. And then finally, Dan Aykroyd's character, Vic Formeyer, is like, what is going on? What, like asking these guys, what is your problem? You weren't going to do it. Now you're going to do it. And that's when Luther finally looks at him and goes, Claire's coming home.
And everything changes.
Come home. We're not going. And then Vic's like, oh. And he turns to everybody in the neighborhood that's out there because the cops are there and it's crap.
Yeah, it's just.
That. So Vic just turns around. He starts talking. He's throwing commands at people. Hey, so-and-so, we need to do this. And everybody's just kind of looking at him like, this guy's been a dick for like the last 2 weeks. Why do we want to help him? And Vic's like, hey, this is where I teared up the first time in the movie. He's like, hey, Claire's coming back. And everybody in the city's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And then he's like, we all know Claire. We all love Claire. She's babysitted every one of our kids. Everybody knew. All the kids knew Claire. Everybody in the neighborhood knew Claire, with probably, I'm guessing, a 3-block radius knew Claire.
Yeah.
And he's just saying, so-and-so's been stupid. His wife has been foolish. They've basically gone off the reservation, but we're going to welcome back on, not for them, but for Claire, because she's like a daughter to us. And all you see is people going off to their houses and getting decorations and getting food and getting wine, and they all come back because of Claire. That was the best part. And the way he says it, he delivers it like, yeah, you know this and you know that. And it's just the Dan Aykroyd delivery. And then everybody just falls into place.
Well, see, it's at that moment that I understood Frohmeyer, and I understood everybody. Right. It was such a well done moment, and this is such a message of, like, all these movies that we've seen, how much one person affects everybody.
Right.
And you see that the people, if this was done for comedic effect, the over the top of free Frosty, and all all that was done for comedic effect, to push this story at that level. Because what you see was a very caring community, a very tight-knit community that Luther forgot he was a part of.
Exactly.
And that was done.
And I really like the guy on the roof. Initially, there's a scene where Luther's out in his front yard and he's walking somewhere. Yeah,
it's almost like the snowman's talking to him.
Luther, and he stops and he looks around and he looks up at the thing in the house, at the decoration, and he thinks the decoration is talking to him.
Frosty's talking to him.
He just kind of shakes his head and walks away.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that has a funny payoff because you know what the payoff is. You're just waiting to see it.
Yeah, that was well
That's a
done.
good scene. This movie, like I said, that the motivation for Luther and for Nora initially is lacking, but as soon as you ignore that, you can take everything and just
Yeah.
run with it.
It's because it's well
Because
done.
things do build, things are getting out of hand, and everything gets out of
Quickly.
hand real quick. And it's just nice to see how everything comes together again and
Yeah.
falls back together for a good life
I mean,
again, real
I'm
quick.
going to mention one thing that is just a perfect example of upping the stakes every time. They work out the police to go pick up Claire from the airport. And Cheech Marin is a cop, which is funny in itself.
Yeah, right.
But he and Jake Busey,
What a couple.
they pick up Claire, and their instruction is to stall, and they're having to stall. So
The
they're
house
like,
isn't decorated yet. The people aren't there. The food's not ready.
So they're gonna fake checking out a domestic disturbance or something, and end up catching a robber in the middle of it, and taking him to the party. And well, you can only imagine where it goes from there.
That's funny. I forgot about that. But yeah, that those guys are ready to arrest Luther like 4 times, man. They're just waiting for their chance. And then they find out, no, it's okay. There's the key. I'm not going to even get into that because that's just hysterical. But this is a good movie. It's funny. I don't know if I'll buy it, but I will watch it again.
I definitely want to watch it again. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff in here that I think you'll pick up on another watch.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot there because I just think things are very purposeful. I think the fact that all she could find was a few fish to feed all those people was a message. I think there's a lot there. So that was pretty cool.
And I think it has to do with the ending.
Yeah, I think it does too. I think it really does too.
So it all works out really well. I do recommend this movie, especially if you like Christmas movies. I
will say this. I wasn't expecting the ending. I thought this was going to be straight up comedy. I didn't expect to have a nice, touching Christmas movie, and I wasn't expecting the surprise.
Right.
So, and that was
exactly.
nice.
And we're trying not to ruin everything for you, but it does tug at the heartstrings at some points. And there's a great surprise at the end.
It was a great payoff.
And I fully love it. And
I didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming at all.
It sticks the landing.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. This movie
Best way to put it.
You might start out like the first 5 or 10 minutes, like, really? But stick with it because it's all funny. All that first 5 or 10 minutes is very funny, but just ignore if there's a little thing. And if you watch the movie and you're like, I don't see any problem with the storytelling, send us a line. Let me know because this is just one man's opinion of like a storytelling. There's a million ways to tell stories.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For 20 million years now. It's got to be more than one way, right?
Yeah. So like Dave, I actually also say, hey, check this out. This was a nice surprise for me.
Right.
Just didn't expect much. I expected a good movie. I expected, yay, I'll get entertained. I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. So very good. Nice surprise. Folks, check it out. We're just hammering out some Christmas movies. We probably got more coming your way too, because I actually just love the genre right now, and it's a good time to feel good.
And I'm telling you, as we were sitting here, I saw a couple other Christmas movies that I'm going to throw your way.
All right, we'll get to that here after we come off the line. But anyway, so thanks again, folks, for joining us this year, and as we continue on our journey through the Christmas movie times, which will end when we get tired of Christmas. So come back and catch us out. Catch us out. That doesn't make any sense, but hey, we'll catch you next week with a new review. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, and we'll catch you later.